Time for the Chemist Corner this morning. Jesse Miller in with us again from the University of Illinois. We've got the fire extinguisher on hand. Fingers crossed we don't need
to Lisa, so
hoping we don't have to use it today. We're going to take a look at kind of a DIY project that some people have taken some interest to, turning wine bottles, other types of beverage bottles into like glassware, basically just separating the top from the bottom.
Tumblers or whatever, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So you just hack off the top. Now, in the old days, well, in the old days, they still do it now. You know, they have fancy machines that do this, you know.
Right.
You scratch it and cut the glass, but it's really difficult. But the average person doesn't have that kind of stuff available to it.
Sure.
And if you want a project, this is a really easy way to do it. You told me about it, that you saw a video on YouTube. I took a look at it and went, oh, yeah, this looks pretty cool. I tried it yesterday, and it worked. So
cool.
I thought I'd show you guys how to do it and explain a little bit what's going on. So glass is an amorphous solid, right? It's contrary to a lot of people's belief, it's not a liquid. Okay,
right.
That's an old myth. Okay, it is an amorphous solid. Amorphous meaning that it doesn't have any fine structure. Okay, or it's the bonds in there have structure, but there's no overreaching structure. So it doesn't form crystals like metals and other things like that.
Sure.
So it's an amorphous solid, and what we want, and as such, it won't cleave nicely. So we have to try to force it to cleave where we want to, and usually you do that with a scratch or something like that. When they're cutting glass, they scratch it, and then it'll cleave right along. Well, not cleave, but it'll break right along the scratch. But we're going to do it a little bit differently, and what we're going to use is some string, and you want your string to be either like yarn or some string that's made with cotton. This isn't the best string that I picked, it turns out, because it takes a while for it to soak up the acetone. And you're going to use acetone, and the reason why we're going to use acetone as opposed to let's say isopropyl alcohol or anything you might have around your house is it doesn't burn hot enough. You need it to burn hot enough. So acetone burns hotter than ethanol or isopropyl alcohol. I mean, you could use gasoline, but I wouldn't.
And if he wouldn't do it, nobody should.
No, that's not.
That's right. So you want it to burn hot, but not too hot, because like if it's too hot, like gasoline would probably start to melt the bottle. So we want to get it hot enough. All right. So I'm just wrapping some string around here, and you got to wrap it enough because this is what's going to hold the acetone and burn. Okay. So, and it's also going to break either above or below where the string is. Okay, so we're going to wrap the string around there fairly tight, tie it off, and I'll clip off the ends here.
So if you're trying to get this as precise as you might want to take some time here and kind
That's
of...
right. That's
okay.
right. I'm doing it as fast
For
as I
speed,
can
yeah, sure.
for speed. But anyway, it'll cleave somewhere around, or break somewhere around either above or below. I've had it do both.
Okay.
So once you get it wrapped around and get it fitted on the bottle, you take it off. Then you're going to put it in the acetone. Now, I've already been soaking this one in acetone because you need to let it soak for a minute or two, and we just don't have that much time. So I've pre-soaked this in the Julia Childs tradition, and we're going to put it back on the bottle. And it also gets tighter, which is a good thing because as it soaks up, right? So now it's a lot tighter, and then you want to do this fairly quickly and get it right where you want it to break. It's not
still
gonna,
wet.
Yeah, so it's still wet and will burn. Okay, so I think that's good. I'm going to stand back just a little bit and move the acetone as far away as possible.
Maybe even dry your hands, too, after you take it out of the thing.
All right, so now it's burning, and we want to spin the bottle, so to speak. Not the way you like to spin the bottle. Hey, you want to spin the bottle, and this way it'll burn evenly.
Okay.
Because what we're trying to do is heat the glass up so that it starts to expand. Okay, then the glass is going to expand under the heat. We want to do that evenly along that string. And then we're going to plunge it into this ice. I put some ice water over here. We're going to plunge it in the ice water, and then what's going to happen is that it's going to rapidly contract, and it'll cause a crack and right along that string, and you hear that?
Boom.
There we go.
Whoa!
Now that one didn't turn out quite as nice. As you can see, we had a little bit of a jagged edge there.
Don't
That's your
drink
friend
out
you
of
don't
that
like.
part.
Yeah, this one turned out much
really.
better. And you know, it's going to take some practice, and this was pretty down and dirty. So I don't like that, but you could sand that off too.
Yeah.
And so when you're done, because you generally get a pretty nice clean break, this one was a lot nicer. You can take it and sand it or fire polish it with like a propane torch or something like that to make it smooth. You could drink at it if you wanted to, or you can make a planter, or what, I don't know. I'm not in the art business.
Planters.
But whatever reason you have. And, you know, a lot of people take like Absolute bottles or bottles that have some sort of design on it and use those for for the decorative or the novelty effect of it. Or whatever
So if you
is
had
what
a
I've seen.
thicker bottle, then what would you do? How'd you change
Right,
it?
and a little bit of this is trial and error, and so if you had a thicker bottle, you probably want to use more string
Okay.
so that it burns longer, so that you heat the bottle up, because you need to heat that spot up high enough to where when you plunge it into the cold water,
It happened instantly, yeah.
because otherwise, if it doesn't, you can just do it again, right?
Okay.
But as you can see, there's the top. So a thicker bottle probably, and like I said, a lot of it's trial and error. You got to get it hot enough. So if it doesn't break the first time, wrap some more on it, and try it again. And better glass is going to be a little harder to break than this cheap. I mean, this is really cheap wine. This is what we use in our lab when we're doing wine analysis. So
Where'd the wine go?
it didn't go to my
I was
cellar.
going to say, I did not take enough chemistry classes in college. I'm learning that.
Hopefully not in any students' stomachs either, but we do some analysis. But anyway, so it is a pretty cool trick. I'm glad you showed it to me. And like I said, the reason why it works is because glass is a very brittle solid,
Yeah.
and we're controlling with the string exactly where that break's going to be.
Yeah.
And with a little practice, you won't get these little jags on there.
Sure.
With enough practice, you can take those old, the cellar full of wine bottles you have at home,
Right.
and make some decorative glasses or whatever it is you want to make out of it.
And
Very
do it
cool.
safely while
And do
playing
it
with
safely.
fire.
It's with playing with fire. Yes, you got to caveat. Always have a fire extinguisher handy. Be
Right.
careful. All that stuff.
All right, Jesse, thanks very much.
No problem.
Hey, we'll post this on IllinoisHomepage.net if you want to check it out a little bit later and try it for yourself. We'll be right back.